Maybelline just launched their new moisturizing serum lipsticks. I'm going to swatch all of the shades that I bought myself so that you can decide which color is best for you. The new lipsticks come in two different finishes. The gray taupe packaging is considered their matte formula, and they also have the pink packaging with a satin finish. Each formula can be sheared out for a more blotted look, or it can be built up if you want something more dramatic and intense. The first shade I picked up is called Out Till 4. This shade looks like a dark brick red brown online, but personally on my skin tone and in person, this leans a little bit more like a mauvey rosy medium toned pink, which I personally prefer more than the online photo. The second shade is called Make It Work. This has almost the same depth as the shade Out Till 4, and in person I will say it's actually pretty accurate to what's online. I do see the muted red tones to it, but in comparison to like a MAC lipstick like Paramount, there's not too much brown in it. I think it, if anything, it has more maybe pink or purple. Oh yeah, when I swatch it next to Paramount by MAC, this looks like a way more muted red, and the tone is a lot lighter than Paramount by MAC. Actually, the next shade, called Maybe It's Intense, is a lot closer to Paramount by MAC. It's almost, dare I say, a dupe, except it has slightly more of a blue tone red to it. It's very, very close to each other. So if you're looking for a close dupe of Paramount by MAC, maybe something more subtle, Maybe It's Intense is a lot closer. One of my favorite shades in the satin formula is called Speed Walk. I believe this is the deepest shade out of all of the colors that were launched, and I describe this as a dark oxblood color with more red undertones, but it's probably the most deepest red out of the entire line. For that reason, if you have a darker, deeper skin tone, I do think Speed Walk is probably going to be the best option out of all of them. The last lipstick I bought in the satin formula is called Maybe It's Soft. Online, this looks like a typical soft pink warm nude, and in person, that's how it comes off as well. If anything, I don't see as much orange in this. Again, I see more like that mauve, that pink, and a little bit of red. But again, it's all very muted, and on my lips, this would look way better with a lip liner. I only bought 3 shades in the matte formula because those are the ones that I liked the most. The first is called Maybe It's. This is a light, muted, warm tone that leans more like coral on my skin tone. I feel like in person, it's showing like a red that leans more orange, but on me, it's giving pinky orange, so coral. Hold the Door is a really nice shade. It reminds me a lot of Out Till 4, except it's slightly darker and much more purpley gray. Online, it shows up as a muted rosy red brown, but in my opinion, this is giving pinky mauve. Let's compare it to Out Till 4, and oh, okay. In comparison, Out Till 4 is coming off more brown, but Hold the Door is coming off more mauvey purple pink. So if you have like maybe a cooler tone, I think Hold the Door is gonna be the move. Last but not least is my personal favorite in the matte ones that I purchased. It's called Avenue A. Online, it looks like a perfect neutral brown, and I would say that's pretty accurate because on my lips it looks like a fairly neutral brown. I think depending on how warm you are and your undertones, this actually could come off more gray as well. But it's a really nice soft brown. It's not like Chestnut by MAC, because Chestnut by MAC is a deeper brown. It's more like a medium tone brown. So if you have my skin tone, my complexion, I highly recommend this one. Overall, I would describe the texture of the satin lipstick to almost feel balmy in a lot of ways. It reminds me a lot of the Kulfi satin lipstick. If you tried those before, you can feel all of the hydration and the moisture from the ingredients that they highlighted because it is very juicy and very shiny. I actually think to some extent it's to its detriment because it has so much like creaminess to it that it's a little bit hard to build up that intensity without it smearing everywhere. So that's personally my pet peeve with the satin lipstick, but if you blur out the satin formula, I do think it looks really beautiful. So if you're someone that wants a hydrating formula that gives you that blotted lip that can be built up if you want it to. Even with the lip liner, I think it would help prevent from smearing, and maybe don't apply too much because the more you apply on, the more the formula slips and slides, so be very careful. And if you're mainly going to wear it blotted, I think you will really enjoy this formula, especially if you have a particular color you like. Personally for me, I think Speed Walk is my favorite out of this entire line because it looks good blotted, but it also looks good with a lip liner. I wouldn't recommend this formula if you don't like the shine, if you don't like the glow, if you don't want it to slip and slide. You might want to go for something different like the matte formula. Now, it's not as thick as the YSL Candy Glaze, so don't consider it a dupe, but it has a similar intention. Now, I was most impressed with the matte formula because usually matte formulas are very, very drying, but this one is not as drying as the others. I would describe the matte formula like a cream to powder. So if you have like a cream to powder blush or bronzer, it's very similar to that vibe except in lipstick form. I think that this looks impeccable when it's sheared out, but it's the best when it's built up with impact because it has enough plushness where it doesn't make your lips look extremely dry. It is going to feel slightly drying on your lips because matte lipsticks are notorious for being drying, but again, in comparison to a lot of the matte lipsticks I've tried in the past, this is one of the least drying formulas that I have tried. I have Avenue A on my lips right now, and I am so impressed with just how it looks, but also how it feels. I don't feel like it's heavy and that I should be wiping it off right now because my lips are cracked. This is the beginning of winter and I'm able to handle a matte lipstick, which is kind of crazy. Now, although it's matte, it's not going to be a flat matte because of those hydrating ingredients. So I don't know if you can see in the swatches, but it has like a slight shine, and I think this is what's the new thing with matte formulas now, a non-drying matte. So it's becoming the new standard because their satin formula, honestly, in my opinion, it's more like a balmy gloss formula versus their matte formula is like an old school satin formula, if you know what I mean. So if you are someone who loves matte lipstick, but you hate the dryness behind it, this is going to be slightly better than most matte lipsticks. Also, because it's matte and it's less smeary, it sets on the lips a lot better and it has better longevity than the satin lipsticks. So keep that in mind. If you want longevity, the matte version is definitely better. If you are interested in any of these lipsticks, they do come in 8 shades of satin and 8 shades of matte finishes. In total, they've currently launched 16 different shades. I will say what makes the shade range of this really special is most of the shades are very muted colors, which you don't see too much at the drugstore. I feel like the drugstore likes to launch very vibrant, saturated, specifically red colors. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of red, there's a lot of pink in here, but they're still muted enough where I was excited to pick from the shade range. I had a really hard time choosing which shades were for me. So if you are that type of person who prefers more muted colors, you might find something you like in this range. And they currently retail for $9.99, which I don't think is too bad. Maybelline is probably one of my more favorite drugstore brands because although drugstore has become more expensive, Maybelline has been pretty decent with their prices, especially if you compare it to like a L'Oreal. Their lipstick is probably $14.99. Their foundations are like $20 now, but Maybelline still keeps their prices lower than most drugstore brands. Unfortunately, you can only get these lipsticks on TikTok Shop and Target. Temporarily, I'm going to link the Target affiliates, but as soon as they become available in a place like Ulta or somewhere else, I will switch out the links in case you don't want to support Target. In the end, I really like this formula. I love the color stories. Don't get me wrong, they still lean a little bit more red, more pink, but I do find brown tones in here, mauve tones in here, and they're very much more muted. So if you're on the hunt for an affordable lipstick that is muted. Maybe you're deep dark autumn color season like I am, you have neutral undertones leaning with an olive overtone. I feel like this is a really great contender. On top of that, the formulas are impeccable. I would recommend the Satin formula if you want something hydrating, plush, almost balm-like. You can sheer it out for every day, or you can build it up for like a night out after work. Or if you're more of a matte girly, which I feel like if you wear a lot of eyeshadow and full beat, you will definitely prefer the matte lipstick more because there's slightly more longevity in this one. It doesn't smear, it kind of sets where you put it, which is really nice, and it looks the best with full impact, but you could also blot this one as well. I think this is a pretty impressive formula and I cannot wait to get more use out of this one. If you found this video helpful in any way, please share with me your support by giving it a thumbs up, leaving a kiss emoji in the comments below, or maybe what is your favorite shade. If you do decide to buy any of these lipsticks, I will link it down below with my affiliate where I do earn a commission. But as a reminder, do not forget to consider your preferences, your budget, and what you already have before you buy another lipstick. Like I always say, thank you all so much for your continuous love and support, joining me in this little review marathon until the end of the year, especially those of you who watch every single video. But until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!